Welcome. I'm Loraine Ballard Morrill. This is a mayoral forum sponsored by Children First, featuring high school students asking important questions to the candidates running for mayor of the city of Philadelphia. This event is being streamed live on the WDAS-FM Facebook page, live from the Philly Duncan Music Lounge. Our goal is to provide a platform for young people to engage with the candidates and ask them about issues that matter to them and their communities. We hope that this forum will help inform voters and inspire young people to become more involved in the political process. We thank you for joining us today. And now let's go to our moderator, Michaela.
Hello, Philadelphia. My name is Michaela Coleman. I'm from the Kids Campaign and your host for the Kids Debate. Thanks for tuning in. We're here today with top candidates in the running to be the next mayor of Philadelphia. Rebecca Rynhart, Helen Gym, and Cherelle Parker. In the next hour, they'll be answering questions from us about the issues we, the future of Philadelphia, care about. But before we get started, I want y'all to meet our crew. Tell the listeners who you are, what school you rep, and why you love Philly.
Hi everyone, my name is Mecca. I go to Kappa, and I love how no matter where we are in Philly, we always love the city we go, everywhere we go.
Hi guys, my name is Fati. I go to William Bodine. I love Philly because we're one of a kind, and I grew up.
Hi, my name is Sarah Julia. I go to Parkway Northwest, and I love Philly's beautiful parks.
Hello, guys. My name is Kwamir. I go to FS Edmonds. I love Philly because the downtown part where all the good stores is.
Hi, my name is Joshua. I go to FS Edmonds. I love Philly because Philadelphia has different stores that other cities don't. Also, people in Philly can make food a little better than others can.
Hi, my name is Isaiah. I go to FS Edmonds. I love Philly because we have the best sports teams.
Hi, my name is Judd. I go to Greenfield Elementary, and I love how Philadelphians care for one another and how Philly is just truly one big family.
Hello, my name is Sutton Fletcher, and I go to Greenfield as well, and I love the uniqueness of each different resident in Philadelphia.
Hi, my name is Kylie. I go to Little Flower, and I love the welcoming feeling that you get in Philly when you're not always going to feel as though that you're welcome.
Hi, my name is Tanaya. I go to St. Raymond, and I love the block parties in Philly.
And again, my name is Michaela Coleman. I'm your moderator. I go to Carver High School of Engineering and Science, and I love Philly because of its rich culture and diversity. So some of you may be wondering why young people like us are interested in this election for Philadelphia's next mayor. And Kwamir, Josh, and Isaiah will tell you just why.
We want people to hear our voices and know what we think about certain things in Philadelphia.
We live in Albany and we want clean and safe streets.
Some of us here are voting, but others can't vote at our age. We want people to take what we say into consideration because of our future.
And that's why we're here. We have Rebecca Rynhart, Helen Gym, and Cherelle Parker with us today. We know you're busy, so thank you for choosing to be here today. We've done a lot of candidate research. We have 5 rounds of questions for you, which you each will get 2 minutes to respond. And in the last round, you get to ask us questions. So let's get started.
This question is to all of you. Kids my age want to know how your first 100 days as mayor will improve our lives. Will there be more job opportunities available for us? Will there be safety measures put into place in public areas like the gallery where kids can still have fun, but not be policed by security? If so, what can youth expect in your first 100 days?
Let's start with Helen Gym.
Good afternoon, students, and good afternoon, Philadelphia, to the Kids Campaign. Thank you so very much. I'm honored to come before you because I believe the next mayor has to lead a transformation that starts with our young people, with the schools that you attend, and the safety of your neighborhoods and communities. I come before you with a 20-year track record of actually delivering transformative change of standing alongside parents and education communities who have helped take on some of Philadelphia's toughest problems. That means we've helped restore nurses and counselors back to our schools, ensure and guarantee safe drinking water, and deliver a real plan for safety and investment. And that's going to start with my mayorship. You asked about what the first 100 days is going to look like. Number one, we're going to prioritize safety. I'm going to make sure that we provide and ensure safe passages to and from schools. I've committed to making sure that every school is a community school, including keeping schools open after schools in the summer program, providing real enrichment opportunities that restore back a sense of wellness and well-being. I am absolutely dedicated to prioritizing your mental health. That's why I fought so hard for those nurses and counselors and social workers to come back. But I also want to make sure that not only are they there and staff, but we're bringing wellness and restorative practices programs into schools, that we're prioritizing your well-being. I've made it very clear that I believe that safety also starts with a safe and welcoming school. So I have a plan to fix and modernize schools so you don't have leaking roofs and unair conditioned buildings, that we don't see schools closed down in the middle of the year. I'm the only candidate with a real track record of actually delivering these transformative changes. 30 years ago, I was a school teacher in Albany teaching 5th grade, and I'm here to finish the job. I'm proud to be known as the education candidate and proud to be known as your education mayor.
Thank you so much. Ms. Rynhart, what about you? We want to know how your first 100 days will improve our lives.
Well, good afternoon. Thank you so much for having me today. It's wonderful to be here. My name is Rebecca Rynhart. I am a public school parent of a 7th grader, actually at Greenfield, and believe strongly that every child in our city deserves a good education in a safe school with good learning. So my first 100 days, first, I will work from day one to make our city safer. On day one, I will open the city's Emergency Operations Center. What that lets the mayor do is coordinate not just the police department response, but the streets department to fix lighting in high crime areas, to clean up vacant lots where crime can occur. Also the library department to make sure there's library hours after school in the neighborhoods that have the most gun violence. Rec centers are open and have programming in the neighborhoods with the most violence. And our behavioral health department, the city spends $1 billion a year on behavioral health. We need to make sure that it's going to the neighborhoods that are most in need for trauma treatment, for the gun violence that is happening across our city. I'll also, within the first 100 days, make sure that our city is cleaner. You know, we're the only major city without citywide street cleaning, and we need to do that. We need to make sure that the trash is picked up from all of our neighborhoods, that there are consequences for those that illegally dump, and we need to clean our whole city. And that's 2 of the things that I'll do within the first 100 days to make our city safer and cleaner for everyone.
Thank you so much. Ms. Parker, what about you? What will you be doing in your first 100 days?
Thank you so very much, Mecca, and to the Kids Campaign, Cherelle Parker. And I'm proud to tell you today that my real life lived experience is closest to the people who are feeling the most pain. My mother was a teenage mother, and I was raised by my grandparents, and I come from very humble beginnings. I grew up on public assistance, which was known as welfare when I grew up. And my grandmother informed me that I should use public education as a tool to do whatever it was that I wanted to do in life, and that I would be able to do it, although I didn't grow up in a rich family. It's because of my lived life experience that I am unapologetic about wanting to ensure that our city is the safest, cleanest, and greenest big city in the nation that will provide access to economic opportunity for all. In every question that I am going to answer for you today, I want you to keep in mind that I'm what I call a teach me how to fish kind of girl. I want to be empowered to take care of myself so that I don't have to depend on government to take care of me. And you can't do that. Look at your education as a tool where we're focused on you having quality seats in every school, quality instruction in 21st century modern buildings. If you can't get there, you see, to me, a general safe passage for you to get to and from school, it is not enough. To be quite frank, we have to make sure that public safety is our number one priority. We will do that by having a comprehensive approach of bringing every stakeholder who has a role in making sure that all neighborhoods are safer and just not picking and choosing which neighborhoods deserve to have a proactive presence. And we're unapologetic about that. Year-round educational opportunities as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Michaela, do we have our next question?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So thank you all for your answers. This next question is for all of you again. As mayor of Philadelphia, you will lead a city that is very diverse. 39% of the city is Black, 33% of the city is white, 16% of the city is Latina, and 8% is Asian. Philly is also very unequal and very segregated neighborhood by neighborhood. And this hits people in Philadelphia differently.
We want to know what you'll do as mayor to make sure that children across Philadelphia, no matter their race, class, and gender background, can thrive. How will you make sure to connect with all the communities in Philadelphia different from your own? Rebecca, why don't you take this first one?
Sure. Thanks so much for the question. And Philadelphia's diversity is what makes it so great. That our neighborhoods and our backgrounds are so different. That we have different races, ethnicities, gender, religion, but yet we are all connected by the fact that we're Philadelphians. And when I travel across the city, I hear people wanting the same things, which is they want a safe neighborhood to raise their family. They want a good school for their kids. They want a park, a playground. They want clean air, and everyone wants an opportunity for job growth. So as mayor, I'm going to make sure that I'm a mayor for everyone in our city. I was the city-wide elected controller for the last 5 years. The controller is the financial watchdog of the city. In addition to looking at financial issues, I also leaned in on some of the toughest challenges facing our city, such as gun violence, looking at what works and urging the mayor to do more. I also did a lot of work around service delivery across our city and how it's often unequal depending on what neighborhood you live in. And that's not right. For example, my office did work around trash collection and found that if you live in Center City or Northeast Philly, your trash is going to get collected on time, on average, about 93% of the time or more. While in North, West, and South Philadelphia, trash pickup is on time 65 to 75% of the time. That's not acceptable. And as mayor, I will be a mayor for everyone. I will change how these inequalities exist to make sure that our government is working for everyone, and also to make sure that voices are heard in my administration. I will have a diverse administration where every voice can be heard and we can lift the whole city up. Thank you.
Cherelle, what about you? What will you do as mayor to make sure that children across Philadelphia can thrive because of and not despite their background?
So again, that's my lived life story, right? So no matter where you start the race of life, everyone should have access to self-sufficiency. but you can't do that, again, without accessing a quality public education. And then because we want you to have a livelihood that gives you the ability to take care of yourself, that means that within our publics, our charters, and even our parochial schools, we need to be training our young people to be the builders of the 30,000 units of affordable housing I want to build, to be the builders of the public schools that we need to demolish and rebuild to ensure that they're 21st century and modern. We quite frankly need more homeowners in the city of Philadelphia. I want everyone, regardless of their race, their class, their socioeconomic status or zip code, I want you all to be able to achieve that American dream of home ownership. It is how you build wealth. This one that I'm about to say is a super big one for me. I also want you to be the entrepreneurs of the future, of tomorrow. Why is that important? Because I want you to be the thought leaders. I don't want you to simply think of yourselves as consumers in our city. I want you to think of yourself as the deliverers of services and products. You can't do that unless there is investment in you, equity in you. Think about the television show called Shark Tank and the men and women who sit there and decide whether or not they want to make an investment in a business because it's worth it. Well, you're worth it to me. And Philadelphia will invest in you and invest in your whole family. If you know Finley Recreation Center, Dorothy Emanuel, Alany and Simons, where great plans are in the works, those are recreation centers that are a part of the district that I represented. And I'm going to make sure that there's access to top quality public amenities for you. Thank you.
Okay, and Leslie, Helen, what about you?
Thank you so much, Michaela and Samaya. This is a really important question because this is not just about what people want. Of course, everybody believes that Philadelphia is a city full of diversity. Of course, everybody wants the best for all children in all neighborhoods. But I think, to have a very honest conversation, Philadelphia is a city where 37% of children live in poverty, and that is not by accident. This is not a city full of poor people. This is a city that has kept its people poor. And because of that, you have to understand that everything has to change. For more than 20 years, I've spent time in neighborhoods all across Philadelphia long before I ever got into office. I used to teach in Alany in an overcrowded 100-year-old school building that lacked air conditioning, and I knew my kids deserved so much more. I've worked with communities and families in neighborhood after neighborhood who have fought off school closings, massive disinvestments. We've worked to rebuild school gardens. We've made sure that there were nurses and counselors and social workers put back into our schools. We fought for modern school buildings. We fought to protect our children when they were hurt or harmed in school or out of it. This commitment is not something that's a platform for me. It's something that I have lived for more than 30 years. And because of that, your question, Samaya, how are you going to approach it? I'm going to approach it with purpose and with a focus. I believe that a lot of investments need to drive into neighborhoods and communities that have been long left behind. It's one of the reasons why I've pushed so hard to make sure that we deliver, make sure that we are focusing our investments in neighborhoods and communities long impacted by violence, because I know that violence is rooted in disinvestment. That's the first place I'm going to make sure that the after-school programs are running. The first place I'm going to make sure that our civic spaces come back to life. It's the main reason why I'm going to focus very much on ensuring safe passages to and from schools, because nobody should be afraid of where to get an education. And it's the first place I'm going to make sure that we do guaranteed employment programs. But I also have a really big vision to modernize our schools over the next 10 years and actually deliver that mission so that every child in every neighborhood knows this city will invest in all of you.
All right.
Thanks for answering. For this round, we're going to ask each of you a question we came up with after researching your policies.
Ms. Parker, we hear that you want us to go to year-round school. What is year-round school? What's your mindset behind this? Do you talk to young people when you came up with this idea?
Thank you so very much for that question, and I love it and appreciate it. Number one, access to year-round public education is very simple. It means employing the use of creative scheduling. It doesn't mean that we're actually in school Monday through Friday, uh, 12 months a year. It means it's 2 weeks off here, it's 2 weeks off there. It's school opening as early as 7:30, closing no earlier than 6 p.m. It's having access to the building trades in school, to home economics, to arts and culture, to coding. It's access to learning to play an instrument and get some very specific training that may not have been available during your otherwise school day. It's having every industry that's growing in the city of Philadelphia actually working through something called a workforce development program so that you, our students in the school district, are being trained to be the next generation of city workers like firefighters and police officers, for EMTs, our first responders, so that you are trained as our next group of biotech experts in our city. We're only second to Boston as it relates to the growth of that industry. Lab technicians earned a great living wage in that industry. Why aren't our young people being trained to have access to those opportunities? It means that we bring the private sector, those who are actually doing this work, to work in partnership with our teachers, to work in partnership with our administrators, so that every industry that's moving in our city, everything that young people who attend private schools, to be quite frank, and more affluent schools, we want you to have access to it. That's what year-round access to education looks like for me. Did you say time, Loraine?
Helen.
Yes. Kylie, you're up next.
Yeah, Helen, this question is for you. So Helen, you say that you're the candidate with the big ideas and you're going to shake up the status quo. As mayor, you'll be balancing a lot of competing interests and competing stakeholders. You'll also have to meet with lots of limited, meet with lots of needs with limited resources and limited budgets. How will you do that? What will your approach be to tough decisions?
Yes, thank you so much, Fatih. That's such a good question. I have always assumed that, we're a city, right? We can't actually fund everything that we can do, but it is my responsibility to meet people's needs. If I just did things based on the amount of money we have right now, we're giving you the least that we can get, in part because we know so much has been denied to Philadelphia school children and to children across the board. This is a state that has been charged with unconstitutional, unjust funding. You don't actually need a Supreme Court decision to make that clear. You could just tell as soon as you can tell the difference between your average Philadelphia public school and the brand new $90 million public middle school that they just built in Lower Merion for 10 and 12-year-olds. My mission is not to just talk about limiting yourself to a budget that is unjust and unconstitutional. My vision is starting with the budget that we've got and telling folks that we need to invest and continue to invest. So when I talked about like a real school modernization plan for the next 10 years, it means that I'm already starting with the school district paying for half of it. The city should match the other half. We should make sure that we provide enough resources into the schools, but I absolutely expect for the state to help pay in, for private entities to help pay in, because I know that building a new school, modernizing opportunities, giving you real chances to learn and grow in a beautiful, healthy environment is something that is not just an education mission. It is absolutely an economic mission. It is a public health mission, and it is a mission to grow Philadelphia. I don't just talk about it, I actually do it. 2 years ago, we did a big student roundtable where young people talked about the lack of access to safe drinking water, clean drinking water. And we made a pitch to do $1 million campaign to bring safe drinking water to every child. That turned out to be so popular, it started a $500 million investment that is still continuing today. Not only did we deliver safe drinking water to every single child, we made sure that we started air conditioning. We delivered air conditioning. We started lead, asbestos, and mold removal projects. We started new playgrounds and even continued to build new schools. This investment is not just about what we've got right now. It's the vision for where we're going to be over the next 10 years and making sure that everybody is on a whole city mission to invest in all of our young people.
So this next question is for you, Ms. Rebecca. As city comptroller, you reported the misuse of funds in various areas of the city government. Like in Kensington, what did you find about the misuse of the funds? What will you do as mayor to make sure that the money is used effectively and efficiently? How will you make sure that there is sufficient funding provided to programs that benefit struggling communities and those who are living below the poverty level?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for that question. Was the question specifically focused on Kensington or overall? Just for clarification. I can address it overall.
Oh, overall.
Overall, okay, great. So yes, as city controller, I identified areas of the city not operating the way it should operate, of funds that should be used in a better way. As mayor, I can actually make that change happen because as city controller, I made recommendations to use city dollars in a better way. But that's where my power ended. As mayor, I can implement and actually make the changes happen that are necessary. For example, as city controller, I did an audit of the police department and found that the city spends about $800 million a year on policing. And what the audit found is that we need to make changes in how we spend that money to make communities truly safe. And one of the things my audit found was that out of a little under 6,000 officers, only 2,500 were on patrol. So the vast majority are either in specialized units or doing desk work. And what we need to do, and what I will lead as mayor, is we need to make sure that the officers that can move from desk work out to patrol, do so that we move the officers, so we have more officers that are available for patrol. And there's a variety of other issues as well that we can improve operations. So I know the city's budget inside and out from being the budget director, and I know operations from looking at the issues as controller. What we need to do is operate the city better. We need to use every dollar in a better way that we get from residents to make our city work, to make our city safer, the police department work better, to make sure that we're putting the money into library and rec. And I have the ability to do that right from the beginning because of my knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you for your thoughts, Ms. Rynhart. For our fourth round, we're also going to ask you another question.
Okay.
You have all said public safety is a priority for you as mayor. How will you prioritize schools, and will you continue curfews for youth? We want you to know that the curfew really limits some of our ability to take transit home from after-school activities, sports, or jobs that let out late.
Do I go first?
Here first. Yeah.
Okay. Great. So improving public education, improving schools is a top priority of mine, and it will be of my administration. I will appoint a school board that shares my vision for a long-term transformation of our schools. I believe that every neighborhood school should be a good quality school in a safe building, and that we need accountability. We need to set goals for improvement, and then have to hold everyone accountable that's involved, from the school board to the superintendent to others. And we need to be transparent with that for teachers, for parents. There hasn't been enough transparency around everything from the quality of school buildings to how decisions are made at the school district, and the mayor appoints the school board. So there's a huge opportunity, and I will take that opportunity as mayor to truly transform the schools. It also will be my #1 priority with the state to get more money for our schools. The school building improvements will cost at least $5 billion. We're going to need the state and federal government's help to improve those buildings. And it will be my #1 priority to get that money. And I'll also match city services with schools. So for example, I believe that every school should have a nurse, should have a social worker, and should have a therapist. If a school doesn't, then we need to match city services with that school. So the city has a Department of Public Health, for example. We can provide access to a nurse from the city's Department of Public Health to that school. And that's the way that I see our city moving forward. And I am 150% committed to improving our schools for every child to create opportunity.
All right, time.
Thank you, Ms. Rynhart. Cherelle, what about you? How will you prioritize young people in your public safety plans and continue citywide curfews?
So, Judd and Sutton, thank you. I wanted to go back to make sure I actually answered your question. It was about safety and relative to curfews. Let me go back and tell you why I publicly stated that I did not affirm the curfew specifically that was outlined for Center City. I went to high school at the Parkway Program High School at 1118 Market Street. It was directly across the street from the gallery. I had classes at Society Hill Playhouse, at the Painted Bride, at the African American Museum, and I rode the subway. The Broad Street line is what I took to and from Broad Nominee to catch the C-Bus home, and it was definitely after hours. And there was very much a coordinated approach between SEPTA's mass transit, how late I could use my school tokens, along with our interaction with all of the businesses that were in that area. And we were able to work through it. However, let me be very clear, very transparent with you all. Public safety and quality of life is different depending on the community that you live in. This idea that all of our young people are coming from perfect homes where they have a mother and a father checking for them to be in the house at a certain time, checking their homework when they get home, that they are coming from what I call the Cosby-like, lifestyle. That is not true. I didn't grow up in a perfect family. And because of that, I'm ultra sensitive of acting as if all of our children are coming from perfect homes because I was raised by my grandparents. So regardless of our race, our class, or our socioeconomic status, or our zip code, public safety, by having officers walking the beat, riding a bike, not parked in a car, drinking coffee and eating donuts, but actually walking our neighborhoods, getting to know the people that they're sworn to protect and serve, and understanding that there'll be zero tolerance for any misuse and or abuse of authority. I have a 10-year-old son named Langston. He wears locks, and he's chocolate just like I am. I want Langston and every kid similarly situated, and every adult and every Philadelphian to be safe. We deserved it, and you deserve a mayor who's unafraid of making tough decisions to make your health and your public safety our #1 priority.
Helen, what about you? How will you prioritize schools in your public safety plan, and will you continue citywide curfews?
I have always supported safety in schools. My work comes out of working very closely with victims who've been victims of crime and hate crimes. 15 years ago, I walked into a school that was listed as one of the most dangerous schools in the entire state, where kids were being bullied and harassed, teachers were being harmed, and families were fleeing that school. And I came in, I did not have a title. I wasn't working for the school district or the city. I just knew that safety had to be the mission. And in less than 2 years, we turned that school around and made it a safer place, and it never ended up on the state's most dangerous list again. I have always been deeply committed to the safety of young people inside and outside of school. But I'm also very clear that safety is an all-effort mission. Curfews of 2 p.m. at shopping malls do not ensure safety, period. I also do believe, though, that young people do need to be in at certain times and that we need to encourage their safety as well. So at a certain appropriate time, I think it's important to let families know young people should be in. I do not think that they should be at ridiculous hours because I know how much young people work. But to me, safety is about investment. It's not about like restrictions. Safety is about investments in young people. I help create school safety zones in and around schools. I help make sure that there were going to be real investments in nurses and counselors and social workers at every single public school, because that is also a safety mission. I am bound and determined to make sure that there are vibrant after-school programs, guaranteed jobs for young people in the summertime and throughout the school year, because I want you to know that this city is invested in you. We should have 7-day-a-week libraries, evening recreation centers, and vibrant places for you to learn, whether it's playing sports, doing music, engaging in the arts and culture, or fulfilling your dreams in a science lab or at a graphic design studio. This city has left its children behind time and time again. And I am going to be the first mayor to really see a wholehearted, engaged investment and an all eyes on young people right now that I think has been missing for far too long.
Our last question is for all of you.
We live in Albany, and like other parts of the city, we don't always see politicians until there are elections, and they don't always come back to meet their promises.
But we want to feel safe and have clean streets too.
You all have big platforms that you promise to deliver on. How will you hold yourself responsible for these promises? Ms. Parker, you can answer first.
Thank you so very much, Kwamir and Joshua. So number one for me, if you live in Olney, you know that the Olney Recreation Center, you see that construction underway and you see those blueprints out there so that you can see what it will look like. I am proud to have been a leader in the City Council of Philadelphia to ensure that you got a state-of-the-art track there and a new recreation center and spray pool because you deserve it at that location. If you want to look at how someone will respond to you in the future, you can only look back at the work that they've done. When you look at the parks, the rec centers, and the libraries in the areas that I represented along with the commercial quarters, you'll notice something there, that they're well kept and they're well maintained, and all of them are in queue to be rehabbed. That's for those, but also my neighborhood-based commercial quarters. Other people talk about wanting Philadelphia to be clean. I'm the only candidate that put together a plan called Philadelphia Taking Care of Business, PHLTCB. When you travel through the city and you see people with neon shirts or hoodies on and they're cleaning the street, I want you to think that's Cherelle Parker's plan, paying people in the neighborhoods to help keep our city clean. You deserve it. You also have to have the experience to get it done. I have experience at both the state and the local level, and I have already delivered for the public school system when it wasn't an easy thing to do. And I am super proud of that track record. I will also have a mayor's community council in every council district, and every department in the city of Philadelphia will be available to meet with residents, students, their parents and caregivers, business leaders, block captains. And it won't be because the mayor's running for re-election. It will be, that's where you can access city government and services, bringing government to the people. And that's already been my record. Thank you both for that question.
Ms. Rynhart, what about you? How will you hold yourself accountable to your big promises?
Yes, thank you for that question. What I'll do is similar to what I did as city controller, but on a much bigger scale. I will have transparency around the goals of my administration and have ways to measure that are on the city's website. The city of Boston actually gives itself a letter grade every quarter, like a report card, based on how it does with trash collection, with public safety, with library hours, with rec center hours. And the city of Philadelphia should do that as well. And I will lead an initiative similar to that here in Philadelphia as mayor. Also, look to how I operated the city controller's office. I believe strongly in community engagement and community involvement. For my major initiatives in the controller's office, I created community councils for my office's investigation into the city's response to the civil unrest following George Floyd's murder. I pulled together community members from across the city, from different backgrounds with different beliefs, to chart a path forward together. And that's the type of outreach that I'll do as mayor. I'll also go into every neighborhood regularly. I did it as city controller and I'll do it as mayor. The only way to truly lead our whole city is to be connected to every neighborhood. That's my belief, and it's how I'll lead as mayor. And I will be completely transparent with the people to say, here is what I'm setting out to accomplish. Here is how I'm going to measure my success as the mayor. And I'm going to make it available publicly on a website so that you can all see it. And if my administration falls short on something and we need to correct it, we can all see that together. That's the way that I lead, and that's the way we're going to fix the city and move it forward for everyone.
Time.
Ms. Gym, what will you do if you can't meet your promises? How will you hold yourself accountable?
Well, thank you, Joshua. I'm an outcomes-driven person. You know, I show up and I make sure that things get done. In 2019, I called for an effort to bring air conditioning into schools. We helped deliver it to schools like FS Edmonds that I was just at last week. We delivered it at Lowell Elementary School and at Kearney Elementary School. I made sure that when we talked about safe drinking water, that it went to every single public school, because I track, I make sure, and I listen and engage with school communities directly. And then I go around and I visit these schools. I never talk about things and just assume that they're going to happen. I assume that it's going to be hard to get this work done, that it's going to take time. But this is one of the missions of the mayor. The mayor is the person who not just sets the ambitious plans, the mayor is also the person who is driving and exhorting and checking and holding things accountable so we actually get the job done. It's why when I talk about that $10 billion plan to actually modernize schools over the next 10 years, that it is a mission to get to the end of those 10 years and make sure that we actually give our young people the modern, healthy, green and joyful places of learning that you actually deserve. But I'm also somebody who really believes, like when I spent a lot of time on keeping people housed. We used to do thousands and thousands of evictions every single year. I know what it feels like and what it's been to like evict somebody from their homes and have everything lost in just a matter of a few minutes. So I made it my mission to really do a program that slashed evictions by almost 70%, help pay people's rent assistance. And that work then became a national model. It was copied in city after city because it actually works. The reality is this: when we actually solve problems in our city, they become enormously popular. They are extremely successful, and they should be an incentive for additional investments. That's what I've held myself accountable to. And I always make sure that I measure that by how people live and not just what agencies tell me is going well.
Thank you all so much for your questions and your answers. So before we go, just as important as it is for you guys to speak to us, we would like to answer some of you guys' questions, because fixing Philadelphia isn't just a one-person problem, it's a collective problem. So before you go, we want to ask all of you if you have any questions for us. So starting off, Helen.
First of all, I want to thank the Kids Campaign for this excellent and well-run and beautiful forum. I want to thank all of you for your research, which you did very exhaustively and extremely well. But my question to you is this in a few short words. If there was a huge investment in you, your life, and your family's life, what would that investment look like to you? And I would ask if everyone could briefly share what they would love to see change the most.
Firstly, I think that for me and my family, that it's really important to see that politicians connect with the community and to see our voices heard. So I think that it's most important for my family just to know that we have a mayor that listens to us and that interacts with us and actually, keeps to their word and actually continues to strive and make our city better.
And just going off of what Jude said, a politician that shows up, but also a politician that acts on their promises and acts on the things that they say, because a lot of times, as we've said previously, we get politicians who don't, they say they're going to do this, they say that they're going to do that, but nothing actually is followed through unless media is there, or unless it's something that's going to get their more money funded into their campaign and just stuff like that. And so I think it's really important to see that, you guys took the time out to get on this call with us and just hear our voices. And so, yeah.
For my family, what I would like to see is an active police force, not just the increase in the amount of police, but also, as Cherelle said, them being active and engaging in my community so that I know that my family is safe.
For me, I really want someone who's going to value after school programs, because I was a part of a lot of after school programs growing up. And it's really helped me mold into the young woman I am today. And I'm about to go to college soon. So a lot of kids in Philly deserve to have the type of foundation like I did. So I really value the after school curriculums and activities.
All right.
For me and my family, I would just say being approachable at the same time as helping us with resources to become our better selves and better to help us to better our careers for the future, not just extracurricular activities, maybe just better internship opportunities and better things to help us get ready with college and funding, and definitely transportation, just the safety within our neighborhoods and bringing the unity with the children together rather than separating itself from each other.
Next is Rebecca. Do you have any questions for us?
Yes, I want to ask if there's one or two things that the city could fix that bother you about Philly. What would it be? What would be the top one or two things?
So I'm just gonna say a big one. Schools.
Yeah.
I think a lot of us here can agree that our schools aren't equitably funded, they don't meet our needs. They're run down. It's very, I don't know, they just need to be re-examined on a whole scale. And I think a second big one is policing, because like I've said previously, we're so worried about who's bringing metal detectors and uniforms and stuff like that instead of prioritizing kids learning. So those are two big ones.
I would also
So real quick, knowing that you know a little bit about Greenfield because Julia goes there, that Greenfield gets a lot of opportunities that a lot of other schools don't.
Yes.
And we know that schools aren't getting that equal opportunity, and we know that especially at Greenfield and all across the city overall, that we need schools to be equally funded so everyone gets the equal opportunity they need.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I would also like to add on to what Michaela and Jude said. My school is right in the center of Northern Liberty. So it's like next to gentrified neighborhoods, but at the same time, we have to walk in with metal detectors. I feel like it's contradictory. So I feel like the neighborhoods need to be taken care of on neighborhoods at the same time. And at the same time, really look into the neighborhoods instead of the students. Well, not just instead of the students, because, you know, students have problems within themselves, but mainly the neighborhoods and taking care of all of them equally and all of the students as well, and making sure everyone is safe.
Absolutely. Thank you.
My two things is first off the cleanliness of the city. It's very dirty, if I had to be so honest. I think we can all say that. And my second thing would be like how it's easy for like kids my age, younger. It's like how it's so easy for kids like us to get equipped with weapons and stuff. Cause I hate to say it, but it's nowadays it's kids killing kids, if you get what I mean. And it's like, and that's kind of trifling. I don't want to say okay. But that's trifling because it's like nobody wants to hear that their child has access to a weapon or that their child's in the same vicinity of a weapon. That's just not something that you want to hear. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Cherelle, what about you?
So I'm all filled up. You answered a whole lot, but I have to go back to Kylie when she talked about cleanliness. You tell me, do you think the quality of life in your environment that you see every day where you live, does it have an impact on your mental? So Black Lives Matter, but every time I go out my house, Kylie, you just hit me right there. But every time I go out my house, it looks like this. Or every time I go to school, you know, we're not even getting to instruction, but why is my grass not cut? Why, you know, are there not weeds around the curb? This attention to detail that you see in the suburbs that you wonder, is that here? Am I crazy or does that matter to you too? Do you think about that sometimes?
I think about that every day when I'm walking home from school. When I walk home from school, I see spit puddles, I see cans, I see bags of chips. I hate to say it, I see piss. I see stuff you don't want to see. When you walk out your house, you want to smell the fresh air. When I walk out the house, I don't want to smell nothing. I just want to go back inside. That's
No, I'm just gonna add on to Kylie because she hit it on the ballpark. Like it does affect our mental health because who wants to walk out our houses and see bags of chips and spit puddles outside? We don't. We're going to turn around and walk back inside. Like I live in Southwest. Southwest is a desert. I'm pretty sure I saw a tumbleweed yesterday. And so, and it's like, and it just feels as though you don't want to be there. Like you just want to turn around and go back inside. And it's just, and so therefore you never get that fresh air. I have to walk 4 or 5 blocks just to get fresh air, just to see a restaurant that's not a Popeyes or a KFC or a McDonald's.
Thank you also very much.
Also, not even just the neighborhoods, transportation as well. It's very climactic and it affects your mental health as well. Just so many unsafe things like needles, just 24/7. It's just the way you get to school that affects your everyday life and how you apply yourself into school with your education too.
Thank you all so very much. I took notes. Thank you.
Does anybody else want to answer before we wrap this up? Going once, going twice, going 3 times, sold. Okay. So thank you all for your answers. Thank you all for giving your time. It's important to us that we feel empowered and we feel as though our voices want to be heard. Yes. Like we don't have to constantly scream and yell for attention, that people want to genuinely hear us speak and hear our opinions to better educate and rise and nurture the next generation of leaders in Philadelphia. So as a final note to all our listeners, we have 5 top candidates running to be the next mayor of Philadelphia: Jeff Brown, Alan Dom, Helen Gym, Cherelle Parker, and Rebecca Rynhart. We invited all of these candidates to participate in our debate. Jeff Brown and Alan Dom declined. We're happy that Rebecca Rynhart Helen Gym and Cherelle Parker showed up.
We hope this gives you a sense of what candidates will prioritize us kids, young people when they're in office. Remember, we are a week away from the May 16th primary. That's when we get to vote for a new mayor in Philadelphia. And we hear that the mayor's race is a 5-way tie, and 20% of y'all are still making up your mind on who to vote for.
Well, we want to thank everybody.
That's why we wanted to do this debate. Many of us are voting for the first time. Some of us haven't even voted yet. Our future's on the line, but we make sure the next mayor of Philadelphia make things work for us. Because Philly works when we're secure, when we have safety, education, careers, uplift, recreation, and a healthy environment. Thank you.
You believe the way is forward for young people are secure. We hope this debate can help you cast a good vote. Thank you all for showing up.
Thank you all for your time.
Well, thank you, all of the young people who participated in this forum sponsored by Children First, featuring you amazing high school students asking important questions of our candidates running for the mayor of Philadelphia. The event streamed live on the WDAS-FM Facebook page from the Philly Duncan Music Lounge. I'm Loraine Ballard Morrill. We appreciate everything that you've done today to raise awareness about the issues that are important to you. So thank you all for everything that you've done, and hopefully you will help us have a better idea of the candidate that we want to choose to be the 100th mayor of the city of Philadelphia. Thanks so much.